Hey dude. Hey. What are you doing to teach your kids financial literacy, given you're a property developer, property investor, and a financial educator? Really great question. So my kids are 14 and 16. They're at the point now where they've got jobs and they're earning income. So it's super important that I teach them about managing that money. That's probably the first lesson we've been through. So, how to actually manage the money that comes in. So working through the Barefoot Investor Family Edition. So that teaches them how to, bucket the money out into different areas so that they can then have the money come in and they can apportion it as they need to. And at this point in time, it's really just a matter of learning how to manage the money. They're not so much investing it at this point in time. It's really just a matter of, as the money comes in, they've got to put some aside for themselves for fun. They've got to have some for giving for the family, and they've got to have some for saving for whatever the goal is that they're saving towards. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's really like how to manage the money, I guess. So as it comes in, they're kind of moving it around. What else are you teaching them? And I guess how are you actually doing it? Like, are you just reading the book, or what else are you doing to help them learn? Yeah, absolutely. So the management of the money is the most important part from my perspective. They've got to learn how to actually take care of the money. Otherwise, the money won't want to come to them. If you want to talk in a bit of a woo-woo thing about the universe, if you don't take care of your money, the money won't want to come live with you. So helping them to apportion it appropriately and use it in the right way. And yeah, the way we do that is when I pay them my allowance, they've got to then put some in each of those buckets, and they've got to tell me what they're putting in there. They don't need to justify how much it is, and they don't need to have a certain amount going into each one, but they need to have something going into each bucket. And then talking about, we just talk about those, how to actually manage that money. And they actually do it as well. So like I said, I'll pay them and they'll literally do it as I pay them. So I'll pay them in the car, for example, on the way to school on a Monday morning, and they've got to do it then and there in the car and then tell me how much they put into each bucket. Okay, so you're actually physically helping them to put the money into the different bank accounts. I guess you call them the pots, when you pay them. What about like interest rates or fees? Are you talking about that sort of thing? Yeah, we definitely are. So the interest rate is a really important thing when it comes to their savings account that they've got, where they're keeping their cash. So we've gone through the process of investigating what the best bank accounts are that pay the best interest rates. And so I actually give them the task of going and investigating and looking at it. So they already had their account set up, the bank account set up, which was a really good. It's like a specifically for a child one. Specifically for children. So they've gone out there and just confirm that the bank account they have set up, or multiple bank accounts, are, if not the best in the market, at least competitive, and they are. So I actually empower them to make their own decision. So we go through the process and they look at what the different competing options are, and we chat about it and we discuss, and then I give them the option: do you want to stay with the current bank account, or do you want to change banks to get a slightly better rate? And they're happy where they are, which is really important. They need to understand the ramifications of what they're doing, but it's important that I empower them to make their own decision, because ultimately 2 years time, 3-4 years time, they're going to be adults. They're going to be making their own decisions. And as much as I want to help them, it's their life. They're the ones making the choice. So teaching them now what they need to look for, but then actually empowering them to make the decision, an informed decision, is super, super important to me. And that's something that I really impress upon them. So that's interest rate. That's really cool. What about fees? You haven't mentioned that yet. Yeah, fees are super important. We discussed those at length, and that's something that the Barefoot Investor really hammers home as well. So I really do love his book. It's not 100% the stuff that I would agree with, but it's pretty accurate, and it's really good as a source tool to then have conversations from. So I think he's done a great job there. So we've discussed, particularly with regards to overseas transactions and just the standard ongoing transactional bank account fees, and how that's, you want to have something with no fees. But specifically with regards to their superannuation, because they're so young and their contributions are going to be very minimal, we've discussed, what the best option is for them, and I've got a self-managed superannuation fund, which I'm going to be buying a property in shortly, and I'm paying all the fees for that. So I've said to them, does it make sense to go somewhere else and pay fees when you've only got a small amount, or does it make sense to have no fee superannuation fund where you can actually have the autonomy to make your own investment decisions, and then learn at a young age how to make those informed investment choices, but also not to pay any fees? So I think it's really important to me to teach these kids autonomy, to empower them to make their own decisions, but to teach them the right information, and also to teach them how to go about finding that information. So we proactively sit down on a weekend when they're with me, and we'll have a conversation about a particular topic. They'll go off and spend 5 or 10 minutes researching that while we're making dinner, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about that before we start, saying our gratitude before we have dinner. Okay, cool. That all makes sense. So you talk about how they should be managing their money. You help them to actually physically do that management. You discuss interest rate. You discuss fees. Is there anything else you talk about with your kids to help them, I guess, learn and understand about money, so that when they do become adults, they're empowered, financially literate people and members of society? Yeah, I do. I try to bring them into, I'm in the property game, so I try to bring them into that as much as possible. They're not really interested at this point in time. That may change, but more power to them. I hope they do what they love. I love property, so that's one of the reasons why I do it so much and why I'm trying to bring them into it as well, because I know it can be very lucrative. So I'll bring them along to, when I'm renovating a house, I'll bring them along sometimes just to see the place. I had to pick some mulberries a little while ago on a tree that was fruiting, so I took one of my daughters there to pick the fruit, and that was a bit of fun. I've helped, she's helped me, same, the youngest daughter, Kaylee, she's helped me clean up some of the yards before, and I've had to pay her for her labor. So she gets to see, what we're doing there. And both of my daughters are brought along to various investment properties, and just they've seen, the beginning and the end process for some of them. There's one that was a haunted house, and they saw it before it was all renovated, and we went there and had a bit of a look around. It was actually really spooky, and now it's fully renovated, so they've seen that, so they can see like the before and after process. So I'm just exposing them a little bit, not forcing. There's no forced labor, but I'm exposing them a little bit to what it is that I'm doing. And I'm going to buy a couple of houses this year, so I'll be buying PPOR, which will be a development site, and then also a self-managed property in my self-managed super fund. So they're going to be a part of that process. So when I find the property, I'll bring them along to do the inspections, and then particularly with the PPOR, we'll be building our own house. They'll be involved in like the design process for their part of the house, and they'll be involved in like painting when we get to the point where the house is almost finished. I'll bring them in. They can do some of the stuff with the hands-on, so they feel a bit of like ownership, I guess, of the house. And so that way, I'm getting them involved in the process, and they can kind of feel empowered that this is their house, and any wealth we create out of that, they've had a part in that as well. So really, it's a matter of, I guess, making them feel empowered and actually helping them to see the before and after and what the outcome of something is. Cool, man. Pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.